Hello, this is Brennan Wilmington of the Left Turn Network, and welcome back to another Lumen Stock Car Invitational race. This is race number 12 of the season number 3, that is, and we are at the Dover Motor Speedway in Dover, Delaware, also known as the Monster Mile, for yet another race here on this racetrack. And this is the third year in a row that we've gone here. Season 1's race was really exciting. Season 2 was kind of a Jacob Lopez run away and dominate kind of race. But we're definitely looking forward to it here today. Gonna be a fun race for sure. Pretty similar to Rockingham in some aspects. And the points are definitely heating up. I haven't mentioned the actual point standings that much in the broadcasts, but I'm probably going to start putting them towards the end of the video, or at the end of the video, starting at about halfway through the season. But yeah, right now, Tim Berry leads the points over Karina Willis-Callaway. The Hondas actually fell out of the top couple spots, which they've had a stranglehold on over the past few weeks. So that's an interesting development in the points for sure. This week, I'm going to be joined by Darian Arnsdorf in the booth. And Darian, tell us about your experiences with this racetrack and what you expect to see here in today's race.
See, I've never had very fun moments here at Dover. I did a race here a while back. I did an ARCA East race here, and I DNF'd on lap 38 of 150. So, not very fond memories of this track for me, but it is a very fun track to run, to get good at. Very tough track as well. You could see a lot of cars be a bit slidey towards the end of a run. Depending on what your car's for the short run, these cars are going to be very poor off near the end of the run. But once you get in, if you have a long run car, you could be absolutely flying at the very end of it.
And we will definitely see that, especially with some different tire strategies and cars on fresher tires trying to catch up with the cars on older tires. It's going to be very fun. Kate Summers, once again, for the third time this season, is starting on pole. I believe 4 would give her the record on a season. So she is absolutely cooking with these with the single car speed. Kate's 13th in points. She's actually been climbing up the point standings, so it's been fun to see this 92 car starting to really turn on the heat here. Alongside her is the 99 of Akiya Tajima. This is probably the average LSCI fan's best possible front row because that's your first and second most popular drivers on the front row. Row number 2, Adrian Wheeler in the number 28, and the 98 of Kevin DuPont. That is almost certainly Adrian Wheeler's best start of his career up to this point. Row number 3, it's Luana Connie in the 25, who's actually pretty good here at Dover. Back at season 1, she was running in third on the final lap, but her engine blew on the backstretch, and she ended up finishing 17th, but she was very fast in that race. And there's Ashley Blake in the 36 alongside her. Row number 4 is Cheryl Simmons in the 58, trying to drag the second Diamond Motorsports car to a good finish. And the 79 of Kobe Hollenbeck, who has one top 10 all year, which was his win at Iowa. Then you have the 01 car of George Bryan starting alongside Michael Harvin in the 55. Jacob Lopez, last week's winner and also last year's winner of this race in the number 1 car, alongside the 85 of Charlie McCarran. Lopez is another driver that started slow, but has really turned on the heat the last few races, especially at Kansas when he won. Oscar Duvall had a good run at Kansas as well. I believe he finished 3rd or 4th, just around that area, looking for another good run here today. And the 3-car Montana Sherman on the outside of him. Then it's the 8-car of Darren Walker alongside the 70 of Andrew Kreider. The 65 of Jack Gino starting alongside Cooper Spurn, the 24. Gino topped the charts in practice. We'll see if he has that speed in the race. And then Mercedes Washington in the number 15. Mercedes is a development driver for Perez Racing in the Amateur Series. She got her first career win on a last lap pass over James Harvin at Las Vegas earlier this year, and now she's making her second Cup Series start. I think I mistakenly said pre-race that this was her first start, but it's actually her second. She ran one race last year, for the same team, Checkered Flag Racing, and she finished 6th. That was at Texas, so trying to back that up with another good run. Shauna Everett underneath her. And here's a driver who's actually making his debut in the Cup Series. It's the 2-car of Jean-Martin Boucher. He's actually been struggling in the amateur series. He actually got this ride promised to him way earlier in the season when he was off to a good start. He finished 3rd in the first race. But we'll see if maybe he can try and get some confidence by getting a good run here today. Joe Smith alongside Jean-Martin Boucher in the 88 car. Then it's the 18 of Zach Dearman alongside the 62 car of Vinny Scholes. The 16 car of Corbin Taps, who I believe won the amateur race at Dover here. He won a lot of amateur races, so that's probably correct. And the 7 car of Laurie Jackson alongside Corbin Taps. Then it's JB Chanone, the number 29, and the 11 of Tim Berry, who is the current points leader. And right behind him is the car's second in points, Karina Willis-Callaway. And it's even more impressive that Karina's up here because, 1, she hasn't won this season, but 2, she missed a race at Atlanta. Darian, you were in the booth for that race, and it was very noticeable, the distinct lack of Karina in that race. But she's up to second in points anyway, which is quite impressive. Alongside her is the 81 car of LaTanya Gray. A couple of McPickey Motorsports cars back here. Actually, all 4 of the McPickey Motorsports cars had pretty bad qualifying runs. Taps is the highest starter of them. Tyler Landry in the 66, Holly Martin in the 6, sharing a row. Laken Herndon in the 39 and JT Boyd in the 77 are back here. And rounding out the field today is the 45 of Rebecca Raymond. It'll be 100 laps here today. 2 pit stops. So the pit window's about just on the edge of 40 laps. So we'll definitely see 2 pit stops, and the tire strategy is going to be very fun to watch in this race.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to actually go back to what you said about Karina Willis-Callaway, and how she has missed a race so far this season. I believe Tyler Landry did a similar thing last year and still came just short of winning the title.
He missed 2 races early in the season and still managed to make up the gap. So yeah, that's definitely a possible gap to make up, but it's very impressive what the 41 has done so far.
Drivers, start your engines!
And the field will roll off the back straightaway. No mech fails on the start. And Darian, who do you think is going to win here today at the Monster Mile? Who will conquer the concrete?
A lot of great picks here in this one today. I'm actually going to go for something that I'm not usually used to picking. I'm going to actually pick someone on the front row. I'm picking the 92, Kate Summers, to get the win here today at Dover.
Pacific Racing has not won since late in Season 1. Kate Summers has been very fast in qualifying this year. We'll see if she can back it up with a good run here today. Pace car is going to pull off. It will be Summers and Tajima leading them to the green flag. And we are under racing here in the first state. Rounding turn number 4 on lap number 1, Summers is going to scamper away with the lead. Tajima will hold on to second. Cheryl Simmons, who started in 7th, trying to make a run at the 3rd position. And if anybody can bring this car into the top 10, which has been struggling for so long, it would be Kate Summers. Or not Kate Summers, Cheryl Simmons. I'm forgetting who's in what car now. But yeah, Simmons, we've seen what she's done with Double Eagle Racing, which is a very low-budget team that kind of has to scrounge for parts. But this is her 2nd race in the 58, and unfortunately she didn't really get the chance to showcase her skills at Kansas because she got involved in that wreck coming to lap number 2.
Looking at a 1 car, George Bryan running in the 4th position. No sponsors on that car this week. He's sitting 20th in points. Really good start for the 01 of Bryan.
And he almost won at Las Vegas earlier this year, so we know he definitely has speed. He's shown it in the past. He won a race last year at Mosport. So we know that he makes good cars. He just doesn't always have the funding behind him. Jacob Lopez in 5th, defending winner of this race. winner last year. And don't forget, we still have that active bounty for the first driver to win back-to-back races, 100 grand going to the driver to do it. It's never been done before in the LSCI. If you're the first driver to do it, you're going to get a bit of recognition and some money on top of it. So you know Lopez is going to be chasing that. And also to try and extend his all-time wins mark, which he currently sits alone with 5 wins over Jack Gino with 4. A bit of scrambling here within the top 5, but everybody maintains their position as it is Summers, Tajima, and Simmons, 3 of the most popular drivers in the field, running 1, 2, 3 right now.
Yeah, on that bounty. I feel like these people might think they might want a little bit more cash at this rate of how long it's gone without back-to-back wins. I think they might want a bit more than 100 grand from the sanctioning body.
Montana Sherman made a pass on Darren Walker there. Walker, of course, losing the points lead after getting caught up in that early accident at Kansas, along with his teammate Charlie McCarron. Walker trying to make up for it today. He's running in 8th right now, so he's off to a good start. You know who else is off to a good start is the 92 Kate Summers. She's led all 8 laps so far, but she's not run away from the field because Tajima and Simmons are still there. We'll see if they'll be able to make any moves. It looks like it's a bit of a 5-car breakaway. Then Cooper Spurs kind of by himself in 6th. And then we kind of return to the pack here with Sherman and all these guys right here. Wheeler, who started in 30s, losing some more positions. He's going to get passed by Shauna Everett. Probably Kobe Hollenbeck and Michael Harbin, too. This is another thing about Dover. This is a one-groove racetrack. You absolutely do not want to end up on the top lane because you could get absolutely freight-trained and lose a ton of spots down there. As you can see, that seems to be what's happening to Tim Berry right now.
Yeah, and on the start you saw Adrian Wheeler started in 3rd. Like you said, I don't really know what happened to him on the start. He just got forced up the track and just lost so much momentum so quickly. I was actually also contemplating picking Ashley Blake to get the win, and now she's also fallen back a long way from where she started in 6th place.
Blake is in 15th right now, and Wheeler just continues to lose positions up in that top lane. He cannot find a way down. He's now back to where Mercedes Washington is, and that is a teammate. But Mercedes Washington only in her 2nd start. Looks like he finally found a place in line. So Wheeler will lose a ton of spots off the start. Meanwhile, back up front, nobody's been able to break away. That 58 of Simmons is all over the back bumper of Akiya Tajima. We might see a pass for 2nd here if Tajima slips up, which it looks like he's doing out of 4, and Simmons is going to peek the nose down there. But Tajima got a better run down the straightaway.
I don't know if we're really going to see a lot of big moves up in the top, on the top little bit of this field here today. To be honest, Dover's a very tough track to pass at if your opponents don't slip up like Kate Summers kind of did there. She's went a bit high in the groove. It allows Tajima to catch up a little bit in the 99. 4 cars under a blanket here on lap 14.
Looking in the back, they're 3 wide. You see Karina Willis-Callaway back here, as well as Charlie McCarron, a couple of the drivers high up in points, struggling. Vinnie Scholes in the 62. I think she's 11th in points. She's also struggling. She started back here as well. So, not good news for the other Pacific Racing cars so far. Kate Summers out leading this pack, and they've been very calm off the start of this race, which is expected. But I have seen them make big moves in some test races before. It's definitely not impossible, but this is one of the tougher tracks to pass at, especially up front. It's really going to come down to how well these guys save their tires and if they've got enough juice at the end of the runs.
Yeah, there's a big key here at Dover is just stay patient. Just stay patient. That's one of the keys to this race. Just stay patient. It's a 100-lap race. You got 84 laps to go right now. We're crossing on the lap 17. You've got to make 2 pit stops. I believe you said at the top of the show. So there's a lot more chances to really mess up here. A lot more chances to gain time in the late run. If you've got a long run car, just stay patient. Stay with it. You should be up there at the very end of it.
This race was 80 laps in season number 1 and season number 2. We extended it to 100 this year, which made it a 2-stop race. So definitely a longer Dover race than these guys are used to from the past. Those who raced in seasons 1 and 2. We've got the 01 and the 1 both chasing their cars up the track. Lopez almost gets into him, and Cooper Spur's going to try and make it 3 wide. Brian clears ahead, though.
No one's even going to move.
But Spur is still trying to get past Lopez for 5th. He's keeping it on that inside lane in the 24 car, but Lopez is going to keep the spot. And we've seen Cooper Spur. He's been very inconsistent this year. Most of the time, he just doesn't show up at all, it seems like. He just has no pace. But there's been a few races this year, including his win back at COTA, where he's been very fast. And that also includes the last time you were in the booth with me, Darian, back in Atlanta. Cooper Spur was just about one of the only cars that was still making passes by the end of that Atlanta race. So it's been a very consistent year.
Cooper Spur is one of the guys I look at, and I'm like, if he can just get a bit more consistent with his races and his racecraft and everything about him, he could be someone, I think, to go over and be a champion in the near future of this series. As we see him peeking to the inside of Jacob Lopez, trying to move into the top 5, but just not a lot of room to work with here at Dover.
Lap number 21, and we already are starting to see the tire fall off. Is already 1 second, so the tires really wear out fast here. You know, this isn't like most tracks that we run at. The surface is made of concrete instead of asphalt, and it seems to be chewing up the tires very fast. You know, Miles the Monster, he's hungry, and his favorite food is rubber. Here comes Tajima. He got a great run out of turn number 4. He's looking to the inside of Kate Summers, but Summers makes the outside work. I think Tajima checked up in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, that was a horrible run in 1 and 2 for Tajima.
And now Simmons looked to make a peek on that 99 car, but no opportunity there. This top 5 has stayed the same for a while, but Cooper Spur just lost the spot to the 2 Hondas, the 8 of Darren Walker and the 98 of Kevin DuPont, and now he is potentially going to get passed by Joe Smith. He's still up in 8th place, so still a good run for him, but not ideal there. Laurie Jackson in the 7. That's another car that was fast at COTA. It was the 24 and the 7, battling for the win at the end, and Laurie almost got it. And she's been a solid, consistent driver for Checkered Flag Racing. She's been the banner carrier for them this season. Just looking to break through and get that first win. Top 10 here today with some good pit stops. She could have a chance at it. We're a quarter of the way through the race, and Kate Summers has led every lap so far in the 92 car. Looking very strong out front for sure, but again, it's not without a lack of competition because they're absolutely right behind her. And you know, if they don't have a good pit stop in that 92 car, if they've got the wrong strategy, then she could definitely end up losing a ton of spots here. As Simmons is still trying to work on Tajima. I feel like this 58 is faster than Tajima, but doesn't quite have the tires to get by at this moment. And Lopez has fallen back into the clutches of Walker. And Walker looks to be pretty fast late in the run.
I think in the case of the 58 of Simmons, it's just, you got the better car, but you're just not aggressive enough to make the move. And I know I said earlier that you want to be patient behind these guys, but if you've got a fast car, you've got to make that move.
Here she comes.
And they got to make the move now, and here she goes.
And she is going to take second away from Tajima. So move Simmons up into P2. Cheryl Simmons.
Now look at Brian as well.
Ooh, Brian trying to take advantage there of Tajima slowing up. And George Bryan's going to try and move into the 3rd position. So good run for the 01 car. Oh, you can just see how slow they are in the middle of the corner. You could feel the slowness. And again, this is a lot like Rockingham. Very similar racetrack in terms of the tire strategy. But I'd say the tires wear out even more here. Oof, Charlie McCarron.
Brian's moved up into 3rd place now.
Yeah, Brian's up to 3rd. McCarron's not having a good run. She's dead last right now. And again, a lot of those drivers that we said were higher up in points, not having good runs. It looks like the 45 might have gotten the wall at some point. Looks like the right side's a bit caved in, but no major damage on that car. So that should buff out, hopefully, for Rebecca Raymond. Lap number 31. And now Kate Summers is starting to gap the 58 of Simmons and the 01 of Bryan. Tajima's fallen to 5th. Walker right behind him, trying to take that spot away. Oh, Lopez going up the track a little bit in front of them. Here comes Walker underneath the 99 of Tajima. They're going to go side by side into turn number 1. And there goes Walker into the top 5. Tajima slides up the track on exit. And that'll put Walker into 5th. And Cooper Spur also trying to take advantage in that number 24 car, as well as Joe Smith in the 88. But Smith's got a handful of his own. The 98 of DuPont is right behind him. Lori Jackson trying to take advantage of the 98, having to check up. And we've still got some action going on here on lap number 33. Just around the 10th position. But Kate Summers, over 1 second in that 92 car. She has checked out on the field. Lopez looking underneath Bryan for 3rd, but Bryan will keep the position.
Yeah, that 92 is extremely fast now, up to 1.5 seconds over Cheryl Simmons in the 58. 2 seconds back to George Bryan. Top 10 separated by about 4.5 seconds back to Shauna Everett in the 57.
And this is a track where you see some bigger gaps, especially after the pit cycles. But the thing about it is that with those pit cycles, you'll have a bunch of different tire strategies going on, so you'll definitely still be seeing some action and some gaps getting closed. But right here, everybody's on the same set of tires. Oh boy, NH Motorsports, 33rd and 34th. That is rough. Definitely going to need to make some adjustments in the pits on those two Toyotas of JT Boyd and Oscar Duvall. Bryan's able to hold on to 3rd from Lopez. Walker in 5th. And Tajima fell back to 7th place in the 99 car. We should see them pit at any moment now. They're going 3 wide in turn number 4. Sherman. Oh boy, that was almost contact between Jackson and Michael Harvin. Tyler Landry and Kobe Hollenbeck also in this battle. The two rookies
don't
that
forget
impressed so much
LaTanya Gray in the 81.
Yeah, LaTanya Gray's up here too. These are 3 key drivers in the Willow Springs race. It was mostly Landry and Hollenbeck battling for the win in that race. And it was LaTanya Gray who ended up winning it by saving enough fuel to make it to the end. So interesting that they're all running together, also in the same paint schemes they ran in that race. That's a pretty interesting coincidence. Kate Summers, 1.8 seconds
2 seconds now. Almost. Yeah, almost 2 seconds between Kate Summers and Cheryl Simmons at 1 and 2. It's been a long time, I think, at least in my times commentating races with you. I don't think we've ever seen a gap as big as 2 seconds under Green.
We definitely saw it at Rockingham. Again, going back to the Rockingham comparisons, this definitely did happen at Rockingham. And at points at Coda, ooh, here comes Summers. She's going to start the cycle on lap 39. She's going to try and undercut here.
I don't like this idea. You were just gaining speed. You had a 2-second lead almost. I don't see why you'd be the first one to pit.
The only other cars to come into the pits are in the back of the field. Michael Harvin, Oscar Duvall, Charlie McCarron. Interesting strategy by the 92. We'll see if that works out. Here comes Bryan and the 8 car of Darren Walker, and it looks like most of the field is going to come in this time. About half the field will come in and pit here.
I feel very worried right now if I was a 92.
Well, this is good news for Cheryl Simmons. That's her first laps led of the season, which is kind of surprising considering how frequently she's been running up front this year. But she's also had a lot of dud races as well. She's been kind of on a skid as of late, and I can't imagine that hopping from team to team is very good for consistency. Oh boy, the 66 might get in the way of her getting into her box, but it looks like they file it out. That's another thing about green flag pit cycles here. Oh, she's getting into it with the 3 car. Be careful. It's definitely very easy to run into each other.
This is 65!
Gino spun around in his pit just as I was talking about how tricky the pit road is. Looks like he's going to get it back going, but he's going to lose a ton of time. That is some bad luck there for the 65. Because during a pit cycle, you'll have laps are about long enough to where the cars that are exiting the pits and the cars that are entering the pits are all going to be trying to leave and get into their pit boxes at the same time. So it gets very hectic in the pit lane. Adrian Wheeler with damage on the right side, and he's going to have an extended stay in the pits. So what looked like a promising run for Adrian Wheeler, the good qualifying run there, is not going to end in a good result for him. And we will see how this field cycles out. You also got to be careful with the cars entering the track. We saw an accident in practice that actually happened because a car exiting the pits collided with a car on the backstretch. So you got to be careful with that. Oh boy. There's Simmons in the 58 getting into it there with Wheeler and Montana Sherman trying to get underneath. So Simmons definitely lost some positions on the pits, but Kate Summers extended her lead.
I take back what I said.
But now she's caught behind
I take back
traffic.
what I said about Kate Summers.
That is
4 seconds the gap now. Double the gap.
Well, that's the thing about coming in earlier. You save all those laps running around on old tires at the end of the run, but you'll have older tires on the next run, and so it's everyone else who pitted later are going to try and use those fresher tires to run them down and really just kind of go full bore here. That's what Simmons' strategy was, but it's not working out. She's in a bit of trouble there. She lost a spot to Sherman back in 10th and is also under pressure from LaTanya Gray in the 81. So we'll see how this tire strategy plays out. And now Kate Summers caught up to lap traffic. Karina Willis-Callaway, we were just talking up in the pre-race show, having a rough go of it today.
Yeah, now the more I think about it on the pit strategy, I do actually like the idea of pitting early because it's a 2-stop race. If this was going to be a 1-stop race, you would have to split the race at 50 and 100. You would really have to save a lot more, be a lot more conservative. But with this being a 2-stopper, you don't have to be as conservative for the most part. You know you can go 40 laps, so you can go about, if you can take one stint about 30 laps or so, you can go full bore on one stint for about 30, go on for another 40, to go another 30. Very consistent strategy. You can split this up in 2 very easily. You don't want to spend too much time in the pits, obviously, for fuel and such. But if you can spend less, I think I'm having a stroke. Don't worry. I completely lost my train of thought. My apologies.
Another risk with pitting early is, if there's a caution during the pit cycle, you'll get trapped a lap down, especially on a track like this. But that didn't happen here. No caution. So, Cooper Spur is stopped. Is that going to be a caution?
Oh, no.
No caution for the 24. That was, I almost jinxed it super bad right there. I was just going to say, there's been no cautions in this race. There was almost a caution. Tire down on the 24. And that is going to ruin the good run that he was having. So that's unfortunate for him. And there you see another aspect of this racetrack. Very, very, very heavy on mechanical problems, especially tire failures. I mentioned the concrete really chews up those tires. Tanya Gray trying to enter the top 10 in the 81 car. Getting by Cheryl Simmons.
I wonder if the 24 had a tire up that they didn't know about until it was too late. Because I wonder if he was involved in the accident with Jack Gino on pit road.
We'll go back and possibly review a replay of that if we get the chance to, but I don't know. That's a tough break for Cooper Spur, and of course he has to get towed back to the pit lane. Kate Summers, despite being in traffic, has only lost a little bit of time to the L1 of George Bryan, who was out in clean air. Michael Harvin is third. Jack Gino, of course, is a lap down in the 65 car. DuPont's up to fourth. Darren Walker's in fifth. And, of course, these cars ran very good at Rockingham. I believe DuPont finished fourth and Walker won. So, I guess it's not surprising to see them up here. Tyler Landry up into the 6th position. Shauna Everett up into the top 10. And then Sherman And looks
Correct me
like
if I'm-
Summers and or Simmons and Gray are in a bit of a heated battle right now for ninth.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the 55 of Michael Harvin, I think he was in the top 10 before the pit stops.
He might have been right on the outside of the top 10. He definitely was not in third place. He's getting run down. He actually just got passed by Kevin DuPont. So DuPont's up to third, and he is 7, almost 8 seconds back of the leader. 7.8 seconds back of the leader from third place. Oh, I thought I saw caution lights,
We're back
but
into the race.
they're fine. But Kate Summers, she has been
Super
absolutely
Spur.
dominant today in that 92 car, trying to put an end to the long winless streak for Pacific Racing in this series. And it was Summers that got them their one and only win before at the Darlington Raceway back in season 1. She was driving the 62 in that race. So this would be the first win for the number 92 if she's able to pull it off.
Would be a big win, a very popular win in the LSCI should Kate Summers be able to pull it off here. A lot of racing to go, though. 43 to go, coming up on 42. But she's led all but 3 laps, I believe.
She's led every lap that wasn't in the middle of the pit cycle. That car has been an absolute rocket ship here today. 3.8 seconds back to Brian. And then you see DuPont back in third, and a battle for fourth between Michael Harvin and Darren Walker. Walker got by Harvin, but Harvin's trying to get back by him again. Not able to get the inside to stick there. This 57 actually looks pretty fast. She is up to 6th now, and she's gaining on 5th and 4th. So this 57, I don't remember if she pitted late or not, but if she did, the tires are definitely helping her out. She was on the edge of the top 10 before. She's definitely gaining spots due to this strategy.
She was running in 10th last I checked on her. Now she's up in 6th place. Trying to hunt down Michael Harvin with the gap between 1st and 10th. Nearly 12 seconds as we have a battle for 5th place between Harvin and Everett.
Shauna Everett is going to try and look to take a position. Montana Sherman going to follow suit. Actually, he might take 2 positions as he looks to the inside of Everett, but Everett shuts the door on him, and Sherman goes up the racetrack. He might be looking for a run off the corner, though. You can kind of get a little bit high to get a run off the corner. That is a thing that works sometimes, but Sherman didn't get it to work that time. And it's 3.6 seconds now between the 92 and the 01, so the gap's staying about the same. It's been chewed into a little bit, and now the 92, she's got to be careful with these lap cars. If they tangle and get her involved, that would be catastrophic. As Andrew Kreider and Cooper Spur, who I don't even think are on the same lap because Cooper Spur was in the pits for forever. He's 6 laps down, but he's racing the leader. And Summers is going to get out of the groove. I think she did that on purpose. I don't think she wants any part of that.
Yeah, the 24 is about a second faster, I believe, of the whole field right now because he has fresher tires. So he's just going as normal, I think.
That is possible. It's down to 3.2 seconds now. She lost time due to that, but, she has a cushion, so she can afford to do that a little bit. It's definitely better backing out of that situation than possibly risking wrecking your race car. And we know longtime LSCI viewers will know about Season 1 Milwaukee, and they know that Cooper Spur is not a lap car that you want to run into, because he is not afraid to cause some shenanigans. So, smart move there by Kate Summers. Even if it did cost her a little bit of her lead, she still has 3 seconds more of that lead. She can afford to kind of let off a little bit and just kind of save her stuff. Montana Sherman now up to 5th. This 3 car has definitely come alive in this second run as he's trying to gain on Darren Walker. Shauna Everett.
We got another 15 laps until the next pit cycle, so you got to make up time as you can here.
Yeah, Michael Harvin seems to be losing ground. I remember he pitted early with the 92 of Kate Summers. I remember that.
Yeah, look at the gap. Look at the gap now, 2.8 between.
Yeah. Brian gained a little bit on Summers. Brian has fresher tires than Summers. Summers was the very first to pit. Harvin pitted with Summers, so that explains why he came out in third and is now in seventh, and also going up the racetrack. Oh boy, they're going 3 wide right here. Lincoln Herndon, LaTanya Gray, Cheryl Simmons. Herndon's going to back out of it. There is a hornet's nest here. I cannot rule out a caution definitively with them racing like this. And I don't know what they did to the 58 car. I don't know what adjustments they put on that 58 car, but she definitely is not as fast as she was earlier in the race. And she's going to fall outside the top 10.
Gap now 2.5 between first and second. 5.8 seconds back to the 98 of Kevin DuPont. Lap 69 of 100, coming up on 31 laps to go. Gotta think Summers is actually, I think she's hoping for a caution at this point. To get a pit stop, come on down. She doesn't have to worry about the 01 because the 01's coming quickly. 0.3 of a second gain last time by.
I don't know. That's still a 2.2 second lead, and we're about to get pit stops in the next 10 laps. We'll see. I guess a caution would put them all on equal tires. That's the good news for Kate Summers. But the bad news is that the 01 would now be right on her bumper. They just about broke even that last lap.
Only two 1,000ths gained that last time by.
You know who is hauling, though, is the 98 of Kevin DuPont. 5.3 seconds
Yeah, down
now.
to 5.3.
He's trimmed 2 seconds
Montana
off
Sherman.
the lead from the 92. Sherman is now up to 4th. He passed Darren Walker, and now Everett's trying to look to jump back into the top 10 by getting past Walker. 2.1 seconds now. Brian's definitely faster, but he's not very close to Summers right now, so I don't think he's that much of a threat right now. But if Brian gets closer to Summers after this pit cycle, it could definitely be a problem for Summers, especially if he's still got the fresher tires on at that point. If he sticks with the pitting late.
It might be better to pit early on this run because this run's going to be a little bit shorter, only about 20 laps. If you pit around lap 80. So I feel like it's probably going to be better if you just pit a bit earlier than normal here.
If I were Brian right now, I'd hit her with the shakeup and come in and pit really early. This is something back in the Hulu Combined Cup Series that Ryan Blaney actually did. I think he pitted early in the first cycle and late on the second cycle. Or no, he pitted late on the first cycle and early on the second cycle, so... uh-oh. Oh, Oscar Duvall is blown up.
Oh, no. That's at the worst spot of the track to run on the front straightaway. He's not going to make it back.
Is that going to be a yellow?
Josh Williams and park it at the start-finish line.
Is that going to be a caution? Once again, no. No caution for the 27. And that is going to end Oscar Duvall's day, and his rough season continues getting rougher. I thought I saw smoke in turns 3 and 4, but I thought I was just seeing stuff. But nope, that was definitely a car blowing up. That's our second mech fail of the day. 1.7 seconds now to Brian. He's definitely closing in. If he gets a good pit stop, we'll see. And again, I was going to say Ryan Blaney pulled that little switcheroo right in the middle of a race in the Hulu Combined Cup Series at Auto Club a couple years ago, back when that was a thing, and he ended up winning because of it, so... And George Bryan has won off of pit strategy before. He stretched it on one stop at Canadian Tire, and that's how he won his only race up to this point. So we know this bunch is not afraid to shake things up in terms of the pit strategy. We'll just see if they end up executing it.
I feel like either one of these two getting a win here today, Summers or Brian, it'll be a very popular win in the books of a lot of people.
Brian lost time that time. Back to 1.9 seconds, and now's about the time when we'll start seeing cars pit. Summers is going to stay out here. Brian's going to stay out. It would be pretty early if he pitted now. You usually don't see him come in until lap 80, so that is what we should be expecting here. Tajima's back up to 7th. He pitted later, lost some spots, but he's gained all the track position back. Walker slipped back to 6th, so Everett's now in the top 5 again. And is that again. Summers pitting now? Summers is pitting now. If I were Brian, I'd be pitting with her, and he's not gonna. If I were Brian, I would have came into the pits right there with Kate Summers, but he's
Did
gonna
anyone
stay
come in
out.
with Summers?
Looks like nobody came in with Kate Summers. It's just her. Oh, never mind. Charlie McCarron in the back of the field is coming in, but it's basically just Kate pulling extreme undercuts in this race.
I like it. I like it. I know I said I was against it at first, but it's a very smart strategy the more you think into it.
Everett's now in the pits. She's going to try an undercut as well. Corbin Taps in the 16 coming in. Michael Harvin now coming in. He lost a lot of spots on that run, but if he sticks with the undercut, it could work out for him. Brian is now pitting. He came in 2 laps after Kate
It was
Summers.
DuPont.
DuPont also coming in, as well as Sherman. Tajima will stay out. And maybe we'll see some cars try and pull a Brad Keselowski type strategy and stay out as long as possible, hoping to catch a caution as kind of a Hail Mary throw here. Oh boy, Cooper Spur, Holly Martin got close right there. And you gotta watch out for these cars on fresh tires. With the cars on old tires,
goodness.
they could definitely run into each other and cause a yellow. Tajima's still out there, along with his teammate Laken Herndon and Zach Dearman, as well as Holly Martin, who's actually in the way of Kate Summers right now. Summers trying to find a way around Holly Martin, but Martin is holding her up, and now Martin's going to come in and pit. Herndon's got some side damage, so he got into it with somebody. Let's go find George Bryan and see where he comes out relative to Kate Summers, or has he already left the pits? I believe he has. And there he is.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
And he is well behind the 92 car.
Yeah, that's about at least a third of a lap, I think.
Tajima, the last one to cycle. And this will put Kate Summers into the lead in the closing stages of the race.
And with a 6-second lead, unless something happens. I think this might be the first time I've ever gotten a prediction right if this comes true.
16 laps remaining. And as long as everybody stays clean, it looks like, oh, the 6 car might have had to come in a second time for whatever reason. Or maybe she just pitted really late, I don't know.
No, she pit late.
She's a lap down now, that's for sure. And there is a conglomerate of cars behind. And where is George Bryan? All the way back here. Look at all the lap cars between himself and second place. And that's what I was saying. If he wanted a shot at winning this race, he should have came in with Kate Summers, so that he knew that he'd at least be close to her by the time the cycle was over.
I think he was going for a caution, but if he was going for a caution, he didn't stay out long enough.
Wow. Lapped up to 16th place. Jacob Lopez, who was in the top 5 earlier in the race, is about to get lapped by Kate Summers.
That is, I don't think we've seen this very often. The reigning champion getting lapped like this, potentially.
And the defending race winner. And he's not even having a bad run. 15th isn't too bad. It'll keep his momentum of solid finishes going, but Kate Summers has been on another level this season. Or not this season, this race for sure. We have not seen anyone dominate a race like this all year long. All the races have been very competitive. But Kate Summers has absolutely stomped the field here today at Dover.
I remember I was going to mention at the top of the show, but I forgot to. 3 poles so far this season. This is the 12th race of the season. There are 16 races left to go. If Kate Summers can keep the momentum up in both qualifying and keep this momentum from the race here today at Dover, she could be a massive threat in these last 16 races.
Yeah, they definitely. There was no question from the start of this season that this car had been posting some very good qualifying speed. It was just a matter of that they could translate it to the races, and they kind of struggled to at the start of the year. This is another driver that missed a race early in the year. DNQ'd. Oh, she slid up a little bit, almost got into the wall, but she kept it going. But These last few races have been very good to Kate Summers. Of course, she almost won the Lumen 500. She was one spot short. Trying to get some retribution for that in this race. 6.5 seconds up on George Bryan with 9 laps remaining. And we're starting to approach the point where even if a caution does come out, all these lapped cars will line up behind Kate Summers anyway, and it will be very hard for George Bryan to catch up.
Yeah, even if there's a caution, I think this one's just about over. As long as Kate Summers can keep her nose clean, just keep the car alive for 8 more laps, she's going to be in victory lane in a little bit more than about 5 minutes.
Holly Martin actually got by Kate Summers and unlapped herself. And she also got by Jacob Lopez to put her in the top 15. So a decent run for Holly Martin in what has been a terrible season. I'm sure she'll take a 15th at this point. Jean-Martin Boucher in his first Cup race, running in 18th. Not terrible. Definitely not terrible. So good, solid outing, especially for a first start by Jean-Martin Boucher, especially for a struggling driver in the amateur series. We'll see if that maybe boosts his confidence in the amateur series and we start seeing him run better.
I remember I called the first race of the year with you back at Oregon. And I remember Holly Martin ran fantastic in that race. We got a car in the pits.
It was Cooper Spur, who remember had the tire failure. He's off sequence.
Yeah. But no, I remember I called that race at Oregon with you, and Holly Martin I thought would be a contender this season for the championship. She was very quick over at Oregon and just hasn't translated really over the rest of the season. As we come up on 4 laps to go for Kate Summers, who's got a 6.5 second lead just about over George Bryan.
Kate Summers has dominated races in the past. Go all the way back to the second LSCI race back in Nashville Fairgrounds. She led the opening 55 or so laps of the race and then got caught up in an accident as a car was... she basically got lapaged on the back straightaway. So it looked very similar to this until that happened. But Kate Summers looking for her second career win and also the second win for Pacific Racing. It's been a while since they last won in this series. Again, I mentioned it was Summers' win at Darlington. That was the last time they won. 2 laps to go. This Mod Pizza Machine's looking very, very strong. She started on the pole. She's led most of the laps here in this race, almost unchallenged the entire race.
The only time it even looked like a sliver of a doubt was when George Bryan about caught her, coming up with the second pit cycle. White flag. 1 to go for Kate Summers, and an absolutely massive gap to second place George Bryan.
And if I were Kate Summers, I'd just let JT Boy go right here. Don't want to get into any funny business here on the last lap. 6.3 seconds up. Rounding turns 3 and 4. The 2-time most popular driver in LSCI is going to round turn number 4, and she is going to take victory here at Dover in dominating fashion.
Now that is going to be a very, very popular win. A very popular 1-2. George Bryan second place, 6 seconds back.
Solid run for Kevin DuPont. He's going to get a podium here today. Montana Sherman, Shauna Everett rounding out the top 5. Good run for Blake Everett Motorsports. They definitely needed it. Darren Walker 6th. We'll see what that does to the points considering Tim Berry. Tim Berry finished 13th, so we'll see what that does to the points. Corbin Taps finishing 7th today. Strong run for him. Latanya Gray finishing in 8th. Tyler Landry and Hudson Motorsports gets both their cars in the top 10 as Zach Dearman will finish in the 10th position. He was 18 seconds back of the leader in 10th place. That just shows how far ahead that 92 ended up getting by the end of it. Well, that was an interesting race for sure. I was not expecting a runaway like that. I did have a couple tests that were like that, but I wasn't expecting. I really wasn't expecting it. I especially was not expecting Kate Summers to run away from the field like that. But
yeah. nearly flag to flag for Kate Summers. She started on pole. I don't know if she got the fastest lap or not, but absolutely dominant drive out of a 92 team as we see. It was
She
Montana
did not.
Sherman, a 21.934,
Summers
who
isn't
got the
even in the
fastest
top
lap.
10 in terms of fastest lap.
20th. Wow.
So evidently she had
Long
good
run
speed.
car.
She had good speed across the race, and we saw her. It was hard for her to pull away off the start of the race. It wasn't until later in the run where she started gapping second place. So she definitely had a very good long run car on top of a good qualifying setup. So that's a good combination there.
If you can get a car like that here at Dover, it is extremely, extremely hard to even be thought of as challenged in the race.
17
It
cars.
is such a tough track.
17 cars finished on the lead lap in this race. 34 of them finished the race. Only half of the cars that finished were on the lead lap. And the lone retiree of the race was Oscar Duval, who blew a piston about 3/4 of the way through the race. So that's another tough break for Oscar Duval. Well, Darian, go ahead and give us your thoughts on this race. And maybe you can provide a preview for next week's race, which will be at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Definitely a fan favorite track in NASCAR, that's for sure.
Yeah. Going on today's race, like I said, absolutely unbelievable job, Kate Summers. I picked her to win. She got the win. Unbelievable job. Pole to victory. Led about 90 laps, something like that, over the day. Completely dominated. Unbelievable job. North Wilkesboro next week. I don't know a lot about North Wilkesboro. I'll be completely honest, at least in terms of this. It's a tough track, very, very tough track, and I wouldn't really expect a whole lot of battling near the front. Maybe, probably something similar to how we saw here at Dover, but maybe a bit more condensed. That's what I'd probably expect going into North Wilkesboro.
Last year at North Wilkesboro, we saw a lot of drivers that were struggling finally have their day and have a good run. Maybe we'll see that again this year. It was very interesting dynamic last year. That's going to be another longer race, 112 laps. So yeah, a very technical racetrack, just like this one, except without all the banking and the concrete. But that's going to do it here for today's race. No cautions in this race, so no replays for me to edit together. So that'll make it straightforward. You always love it when that happens. But yep, that's going to conclude today's race. We will see you guys next week at North Wilkesboro. And on behalf of Darian and myself for the Left Turn Network, this is Brendan Wilmington signing out.